අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Saturday the 18th of March 2023. Wanted. The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against Russian President Vladimir Putin. No freedom. Central bank doesn't have autonomy through the new Central Bank Amendment Bill, says former Central Bank Governor Dr. Kumaraswamy. Battle of the Blues. Royal College Colombo regains the shield, beating St. Thomas College by 181 runs.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරම.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now the head of the government printer, Gagini Lienage, insists that the already printed ballot papers for the postal voting in the 2023 local government election cannot be handed over to the Election Commission until the requirement payments have been made. Meanwhile, the General Secretary of the Samgi Janabalawege, Ranjit Madhumabandara, has written a letter to the Treasury Secretary stating that he has committed contempt of court by failing to release the funds for the local government election as per the Supreme Court's order. The head of the government press, Gagini Lienage, today insisted that the printing department would not be able to hand over the postal voting ballot papers to the Election Commission on Monday as initially planned. She further stated that printing of ballot papers for 17 electoral districts has been completed so far. Accordingly, the head of the government press states that the ballot papers now need to be proofread under police security. The government press meanwhile noted that it is yet to receive the remaining payments for the election-related work it has done so far. According to the government printer, the printing department has spent more than 200 million rupees so far to print the ballot papers. However, the department has only received an initial payment of just 40 million rupees. Meanwhile, the Commissioner General of Elections, Nimalji Puncheheva, stated that the 2023 local government election can only be held on the scheduled date if the election body receives the ballot papers within the next few days. The 2023 local government election, which was initially planned to be held on the 9th of March 2023, was later rescheduled for the 25th of April. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Samgi Janabalawege, Ranjit Madhumabandara, has written a letter to the Treasury Secretary Mahinda Sirivardhana stating that he has committed contempt of court by failing to release the funds for the local government election as per the Supreme Court order. The letter further states that the Election Commission had informed the Finance Ministry to release the funds pertaining to the local government election on a staggered basis commencing from the 14th of March. However, Secretary to the Treasury Mahinda Sirivardhana wrote a letter to the Election Commission stating that they are unable to release the funds due to the cabinet decision reached on the 13th of February limiting expenditure. He also noted that a request was made for the Finance Minister on the fund release to the election. However, via a letter, the SJB General Secretary Ranjit Madhumabandara noted that failing to release funds allocated for the elections from the Budget 2023 as per the court order amounts to contempt of court, which is a punishable offence as per Article 105 of the Constitution. Meanwhile, the term of office of 340 local government bodies expires at midnight tomorrow. Accordingly, the mayors and chairpersons of the local government council of these institutions have been asked to return to their official vehicles given to them without delay. According to the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs and Provincial Councils, the allowances given to the members of these local government bodies would be paid only until the 19th of March. Now, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena stated that the country is now at a point where it can transform within the next 6 months. Speaking at a progress review meeting in Mathura, the Premier further highlighted that government workers should keep political opinions and conflicts aside and work towards making the welfare benefit program a success.
A progress review meeting of the multi-sectoral joint mechanism of empowering rural economic revitalization centers to ensure food security and nutrition was held in the district secretariat of Mathara under the patronage of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena yesterday. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister stated that once Sri Lanka gets the approval from the IMF next week, the suspensions that were issued by the World Bank system on Sri Lanka would be lifted.
The foreign exchange crisis and the international debt default which followed have been some of the biggest issues in recent days. International financial institutions temporarily not cooperating with Sri Lanka has severely affected implementation of financial policies. We are now at a point where we can transform the country within the next 6 months. Once Sri Lanka gets the approval from the IMF next week, the suspensions that were imposed by the World Bank system on Sri Lanka would be lifted.
The Premier further highlighted that supporting the welfare benefit payment program is an important responsibility of all government workers.
We must achieve success in the welfare benefit program implemented, starting from the village to ensure self-sufficiency in food. We expect the support of all government workers in this regard. We believe that supporting this cause is an important responsibility of all government workers. We request everyone to keep all political opinions and conflicts aside and work towards the success of this program. We have started a survey on funds allocated for people with low-income families. The application forms regarding eligibility to this program have been handed over. The survey must be concluded within the end of this month. On behalf of the government, I express deep regret on the government employees who oppose this program. Now, Minister of Finance Ranjit Siamalapitiya claimed that the IMF agreement will be tabled in Parliament soon, as it is published on the IMF website. Addressing a media briefing in Kegel, the minister further stated that the government is ready to give the opposition and other stakeholders with different opinion a chance to criticize their agreement and the present alternatives.
ජාත්‍යන්තර මූල්‍ය අරමුදල මේ අපි සමග ඇති කරගත් එකඟතාවයන් ඔවුන්ගේ වෙබ් අඩවිවල ප්‍රසිද්ධ කළ වහාම මොකද දැනටමත් අපි ඒ සඳහා අනුමැතිය දීලා තියෙනවා අපේ රට පැත්තෙන් මොකද අපිට කිසිම රහසක් නැහැ ජාතියත් එක්කම සියල්ලම කතා කළ යුතුයි මේ ප්‍රසිද්ධ කළ වහාම ජනාධිපතිතුමා මුදල් අමාත්‍යවරයා විදිහට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට මේ එකඟතාවයන් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට සූදානම් බොහෝ විට ලබන සතියේ ඒක සිද්ධ වෙනවා ඒ නිසා පක්ෂයටත් දැන් විවිධ මත පළ කරන අයටත් ඉතා හොඳ අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මේ ගැන කතා කරලා ඔවුන්ගේ වෙනත් විකල්පයන් තියෙනවනේ ඒවා ගැන කතා
Now, with the office of the Inspector General of Police falling vacant on the 23rd of March 2023, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka recently urged the government not to appoint an officer within a blemished record to the top position in the Sri Lanka police force. Issuing a statement, the BSL highlighted that during the last few decades, there has been a serious erosion of public confidence in the Sri Lanka police. The BSL pointed out that the lack of independence, politicization, police brutality, custodial deaths and lack of professionalism have all contributed to the erosion of the public in the eyes of the police. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka maintains that public confidence in the police is vital for the administration of justice and the rule of law. Thus, the BSL stated that it is of utmost importance that the next Inspector General of Police should be an officer whose service in the police force is exemplary and free of any blemish and able to restore public confidence in the Sri Lanka police. Outlining their past record, the BSL highlighted that the Sri Lanka police has had a practice of withholding applications to top positions of officers who are named as suspects or accused in criminal matters or are respondents in fundamental rights applications, such as those relating to illegal arrests or torture. Similarly, the promotions of officers who have a blemished record in the Sri Lanka police are regularly withheld. The BSL is of the view that the same or higher standards must be adopted by the executive in appointing the Inspector General of Police. Taking these circumstances into account, the BSL urged that no officer who has pending fundamental rights or criminal cases against him or any allegations of involvement in unlawful activity be appointed to the office of the Inspector General of Police. And we'll be back with your business segment right after this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ඩීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Now, the new Central Bank Amendment Act does not allow the bank to control over the complete autonomy as a monetary policy decisions as the main function of the monetary policy, which is to maintain the inflation rates at a low rate, will be decided through joint discussions with the Ministry of Finance and publicized through a gazette. Speaking during a panel discussion on the new Central Bank Act 2023, should the Central Bank of Sri Lanka be independent, former Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy made these remarks. However, he went on to say that the CBSL has the autonomy in the way it is able to of dictating how the monetary rate and the exchange rate policies are taken place.
Now, if you look back at our 75-year post-independence history, what we have had is fiscal domination of monetary policy. Successive governments had difficulty in running fiscal policy in a responsible and sustainable way. And then they relied on the central bank to bail them out, either through direct deficit financing or through financial repression by the central bank, which kept interest rates low for the governments to be able to borrow cheaply. All these things actually dislocate the economy and create disturbances in the economy. Now, we've had a discussion on those matters, so I don't want to repeat what has been said. So now that we have this fiscal forbearance in monetary policy, one needs to find ways of creating sufficient space for the central bank to do its work in a technically proficient way. Now, having said that, if you look at the Act, the central bank does not have policy autonomy. Far from controlling fiscal policy, it doesn't even control monetary policy. Because the inflation target, which is at the heart of the monetary policy formulation framework, is actually set jointly through consultation between the Ministry of Finance and the central bank. And the inflation target is actually announced by the Minister of Finance through a gazette. So you can't say that the central bank is kind of going off and doing its own thing. And so there is no real policy autonomy for the central bank. Of course, it has a big say and a big input into setting that policy target, inflation target. But what it does get now, to a greater extent, is instrument autonomy. So that it is able, once it's given the target through the government gazette, issued by the Minister of Finance, it has autonomy in the way it runs monetary and exchange rate policy. So there is no question of the central bank superseding the political authority of the country. Because as I said, the policy framework is set by the gazette notification issued by the Minister of Finance. In terms of the relationship between the money supply and inflation, now from my understanding, if the rate of growth of the money supply is faster than the nominal growth rate of the economy, I don't see how there cannot be pressure on prices. Because if you see that the money supply is growing faster than the nominal value of goods and services in the economy, then that has to be some give in terms of the price level. So I don't think one can say that there is no linkage, but as Dr. Kolumage pointed out, the central bank recognized that the relationship between monetary aggregates and inflation had got much weaker, and it had abandoned setting monetary policy by using monetary aggregates as the base. And Dr. Kolumage explained how it has conducted monetary policy. If you make the point that inflation has been there all over the world recently, that is absolutely true. The supply side factors have pushed inflation up all over the world, but I'm not aware of many countries which have had 85%. So you have lots of these supply bottlenecks, all these various other factors which have affected Sri Lanka and other countries, but then why did ours go up to 85%? So that I think is something that needs investigation. I haven't done the work to be able to say that a large part of it is due to monetary expansion or deficit financing, but it's something I think that we need to look at. Why did ours go up so much? Way above almost every other country. Then, capacity for counter-cyclical policies. Clearly that's very important. And like the country is hit by something like the pandemic or collapse in export markets, whatever it is, and we need to then have some capacity or significant capacity to be able to have counter-cyclical policies. One way, of course, is to get the central bank to do deficit financing, colloquial parlance, deficit financing. But there are other ways of doing it, most notably to create arbitrage opportunities for open market operations to become attractive to the market, right? Because when you have some kind of depression in the economy, private sector credit demand will also be less. You won't be crowding out the private sector to quite such an extent if you do open market operations to take money for them.
Now another Colombo School big match encounter came to an end as Royal College Colombo claimed a 180-run victory at the Battle of the Blues today by beating St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. Royal regained the big match trophy after 4 years, which they lost in 2019. Outstanding innings scored by Royalist skipper Dasis Manchanayake helped Royal to give a 342-run target to the St. Thomas College, which they were found unable to pass due to the heavy bowling attack of Royal College. The 144th Battle of the Blues between Royal College Colombo and St. Thomas College, Mount Lavinia, commenced at the Sinhalese Sports Club grounds on Thursday, and upon winning the toss, Thomian skipper Ramesh Mendis invited the Royalists to bat first. Royal College scored 326 runs for the loss of 8 wickets for their first innings, with skipper Dasis Manchanayake scoring the highest for the team, which is 137. Ramiro Pereira to the second scored 128 runs. Akash Fernando of the Thomians bagged 4 wickets of the Royal innings, while Kavindu Dias bagged 3. St. Thomas batsmen, however, found it unable to lead the score of Royalists due to their outstanding bowling attack, limiting their innings to 153 runs. Opener Senadi Bulankulama was the top scorer for the Thomians, which is 40. Bulan Viratunga of Royal claimed 3 wickets, while Renuka Mallaviarachi, Sandesh Ramanayake and Sene Jayawardena bagged 2 wickets each. Commencing their second innings with a lead of 173 runs, Royal College declared their second innings yesterday at 160 runs for the loss of 4 wickets. It was skipper Dias Manchanayake who was the top scorer of Royalists with 57 runs. Thomians, who received a massive target of 342 runs, however, could not succeed as the Royal College bowling attack ended their innings this afternoon for 161 runs, helping to regain the DS Senanayake Memorial Shield by 180 runs after 4 years. St. Thomas's College managed to retain the title for 4 years following the victory in 2019 under the captaincy of Sitara Hapuhinna. The awards for the player of the match, best batsman and best fielder were claimed by the Royalists, Dasis Manchanayake, Ramiro Pereira and Uvindu Veerasekara respectively, while Akash Fernando of St. Thomas claimed the best bowler award. The one-day encounter between the Royalists and the Thomians will be held on the 24th of March at the same venue. That's all the news we have for you this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Tune into our social media pages to stay updated on the very latest. Have a good night and pleasant evening.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.